What is your name?
Amy Larson,
What is your occupation?
physician in internal medicine.
You have children?
Yes,
How old are they?
9 and 7. Babe, what's wrong?
We're not together anymore. We got divorced.
What?
She can't remember the last 8 years.
She looks at me like she used to before everything happened.
I don't know who I am now, but I wanted to be a doctor my whole life. I won't give that up.
Doc, series premiere, January 7th on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
As the 132nd legislature gets ready to be sworn in, Capitol Police have made some changes to help keep them and visiting members of the public safe and secure. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Devin Dagnall.
And I'm Beth Jones. Officials say the new safety measures will mitigate disruptions while maximizing safety. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard spoke with the chief of the Capitol Police to learn more.
This year, this session, you're going to see a lot of changes here, sort of based on lessons learned here in Maine from the last handful of years.
Capitol Police Chief Matthew Clancy says bomb threat hoaxes and protests have disrupted work at the State House in the past few years. During the off-season between legislative sessions, the department has been focused on making improvements to their security posture to maximize safety and minimize disruptions, including forming a network with other Capitol Police departments from across the country to quickly determine if a potential threat is a hoax without having to evacuate the building.
So we're learning from each other. And we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to find the right balance to provide that safe environment, but not to be an overbearing security presence.
Chief Clancy also says improvements were made to technology, including adding an emergency alert system for lawmakers to quickly notify them of any potential threats and emergency instructions. They're also increasing their boots on the ground.
Here in the Capitol Police, we have the security agents, security guards, and the police officers. So there will be an increase in that particular presence. The Capitol Police now, we have a canine unit. We have a bomb detection dog. You'll see the dog on a regular basis.
Another security measure in the works is constructing a security screening area in the Cross Building, which hosts many committee rooms as well as state offices, such as the Attorney General's Office and Bureau of Elections.
We're hopeful that that should be completed and operational by the beginning of the next go-around, the next session. That might be a bit of a lofty goal.
At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
A bill to help fund autism research and education passed its vote in the U.S. Senate and is on track to pass the House this week. Senator Susan Collins sponsored that bill, known as the Autism Cares Act of 2024. She says the bill is important to gaining a better understanding of developmental disabilities.
It's really going to help families with autistic children, the children themselves as they grow up, and also educators. That's a really important part of the bill as well. It provides additional funding for research into autism, and it will help support 2 programs that we have in Maine.
A second and final round of applications is now open for Maine small businesses to help them recover and rebuild from last winter's devastating storms. Approximately $8 million has already been awarded through the first round of grants to 109 businesses and nonprofit organizations. The Mills administration has also awarded more than $21 million in resilience grants to help rebuild working waterfronts and more than $25 million in grants for dozens of communities to help them recover. Applications are due by January 14th. The Business and Resilience Fund was created as part of the $60 million storm relief package secured by the governor and approved by the legislature earlier this year.
A crash in Bangor seriously injured a pedestrian this morning. Bangor police say it happened on Union Street near High Street around 6 a.m. when officers were called to a report of a person who was lying in the roadway after being struck by a vehicle. They say the driver of the vehicle told officers the person had stepped off the sidewalk into the vehicle's path, but the driver said they didn't have time to avoid the collision. The pedestrian was transported to a local hospital and is in serious condition. Bangor police say they are still investigating.
Meanwhile, a vacant home in Bangor that was known to police was destroyed by fire early this morning. The fire broke out just before 5 a.m. in a 3-story home on Lincoln Street, located behind the Cross Insurance Center. The 3-alarm fire drew first responders from surrounding towns as far away as Hudson.
Crews initially went in and tried to aggressively knock the fire down. The fire was well involved. It got ahead of us, so we pulled crews out. We went defensive for a little bit. We were able to put crews back in, and now we're here mopping up hot spots.
Neighbors say the house has been vacant for nearly a decade. According to Bangor police, they have responded to 16 incidents at that house since 2022, primarily for reports of trespassing. However, Assistant Fire Chief Corriveau says after a primary search, no one was found inside. The cause of that fire, though, is still under investigation.
Well, there are elections happening tomorrow, but you won't be the ones heading to the ballot box. The elections are for Maine's constitutional officers such as Attorney General, Secretary of State, and State Treasurer. Maine is one of the only 3 states that elects its officers through the legislature instead of through a general election. Secretary of State Shenna Bellows has been on both sides of this process, having voted for officers during her time as a state senator and being voted in by the legislature twice.
Each caucus of the major political parties, Democrats and Republicans, nominate a candidate, and then when the legislature convenes on its first day, on the first Wednesday in December, the legislature as a whole votes for those constitutional officers. When I was a senator, I had the privilege of voting for constitutional officers. What I experienced were the constitutional officers reaching out to share why they were running, what their vision for the future of Maine and for their offices was. When I voted, it was a secret ballot, just like Mainers all across the state voted a secret ballot in November. When I ran for Secretary of State, I reached out to every legislator to share my vision for the future. I ran on a platform of technology modernization to better improve services for the people of Maine.
While Secretary Bellows is running unopposed, there are competitive races for the Treasurer and for Attorney General. The officers will be voted in during the 132nd Legislature swearing-in session on Wednesday.
And thinking about the day in terms of weather, we were sort of chatting earlier. Mother Nature couldn't quite decide on her lighting scheme, to put it in theater terms.
No, dark on one side, light on the other, kept popping up, going away, and then spitting snow everywhere. Yeah, very confusing day.
It was kind of an interesting day, but you know, the weather up here tends to be a little shifty.
Yeah, wait 5 minutes, as they say.
Yeah, well, it was a revolving door all day long.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see how our day is going to end with a first check of your forecast.
Thank you, Beth. As you can see for our highs today, we had some similar temperatures to yesterday and the day before. So temperatures have been pretty consistent, right around 33 degrees here in town, 32 by Bar Harbor, 35 by Rockland, and lots of areas in the mid to upper 30s in the southwestern portion of the state for today. And up north, cooler temperatures right around those mid to upper 20s. We can see that in Clayton Lake and Presque Isle with highs right around 27 and 29 degrees for today. But we have a big weather system coming up for tomorrow night. We're going to have a chance for some mostly sunny skies tomorrow afternoon, but then increasing cloud cover. And here we go. We can see some snow starting tomorrow right around 8:30 to midnight. But then after that, we're going to have the chance to warm up into some rain. But then after that, it will transition back into snow right around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then we're going to continue to see some snow after that before it all clears up Thursday morning. But we can see overnight tonight, we're going to be dry out there with temperatures dropping into the mid-teens. Beth?
All right, Chase, thank you.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10. Penobscot students are now eligible for a tuition-free Husson Scholarship.
And a factory operating in Enfield is working to eliminate PFAS chemicals from Maine's soil. We'll have those stories and more local news when we come right back.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
We can go into a room and have absolutely nothing in there, nothing on the windows, no color, no character, no tone to a room.
That's, I think, where we're strongest, is being able to help someone envision what's going to go in that window.
And we leave, it's totally transformed into something that the customer wants it to be. We've often been told we make a room look better just by leaving it.
When you're ready to tackle your next building project, depend on the knowledge and experience of Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center will turn your ideas into accurate conceptual drawings, and 3D visualization is available. Your Hammond sales rep will prepare a materials list and cost estimate. And when you buy all of your materials from them, Hammond will refund all of your design fees. Hammond can deliver your order from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner since 1953.
Oh, here we go, here we go.
Season 12! She could sing.
The Masked Singer, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, the latest on a car accident in Bangor early Tuesday morning that sent a pedestrian to the hospital. Plus, one local factory is working to remove PFAS materials from their products. We'll hear how. These stories, plus Santa's coming to town in the 7 a.m. hour, reading letters. Coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Homeless campsites are popping up again in Portland, despite the city's policy to remove them. That policy led to a much different summer in 2024 than seen in 2023. But what's really changed? Brad Rogers shows us a new encampment where police ordered campers to clear out.
This is the encampment in the woods behind Temple Bethel Memorial Park Cemetery. The cemetery director told us she saw people living in these tents as recently as Friday.
We asked Portland Police about this, and they told us they sent officers out here, but they couldn't find anything. Still, we found several campsites here right off of Congress Street behind the cemetery.
The cemetery director says Portland Police told her they ordered everyone living here to clear out yesterday.
You know, they're people too. It's a tough situation, all over the place.
Portland city leaders tell us on any given night there are about 40 homeless campsites in the city. People living in tents and on the street believe the numbers are much higher, driven by a lack of affordable housing.
That's why people are doing what they're doing. They're, sleeping in tents and wherever they can. And, that's understandable. But, it's a hard life.
This man sleeps outside every night without a tent.
I try to use the warmer centers during the day, and at night I pretty much freeze.
The city says 12 beds were available today at its 258-bed Homeless Services Center. Not enough to house everyone living on the street.
No, it's not even close. It's a bigger problem than what people really realize.
Last winter, the city cleared out the last of the large encampments. Police in the city's Health and Human Services Department still work with people living on the street to try to get them the housing and services they need.
Because this land is owned by the cemetery, they will be the ones to have to pay to clean up this mess. We're told at a cost of around $2,500.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. Well, a factory in Enfield is working to get forever chemicals out of Maine's soil. Our Doug Banks visited that facility to learn more.
On this snow-covered land in Enfield, these wood chips are being made into a product that could help eradicate forever chemicals, also known as PFAS, from the soil.
This PFAS problem has been such a heartbreak and such a crisis for Maine.
Horton says if PFAS is found in the soil, it is likely because at some point, biosolids were spread on the land to fertilize it.
Now the application of biosolids has been banned in Maine. It's still happening in many other places, but the damage has been done.
In early 2020, Horton and his brother founded Standard Biocarbon with the sole purpose of making biochar, an eco-friendly charcoal-like substance used in environmental remediation.
But very importantly, it absorbs heavy metals and contaminants such as PFAS and holds them so they're not plant available.
Biochar is 90% carbon and can be safely mixed with compost and other soil amendments. Since becoming fully operational in April, their product has been distributed to farms in New England, New Zealand, and to researchers, including the University of Maine, to build data and knowledge. And while more work still needs to be done, he says the results so far have shown a reduction in forever chemicals entering plants.
That's really the work we're focused on, is working with landowners, with researchers, regulators, and agronomists at the state and federal level to get more biochar to work in these problem areas, to understand how it can be used and how it should be used.
For those with land that's been impacted by PFAS, useful resources can be found on our website. In Enfield, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Students in Penobscot County will be able to attend Husson University tuition-free. It's part of a new scholarship set up by Joseph and Suzanne Sear. They own the company that provides bus services to 13 Maine school districts.
During his time on the trustees, Joe Sear was very passionate about trying to keep education affordable to students and wanting to make sure that any student who had the desire and the capability would have the opportunity for transformational education.
To qualify for the scholarship, students must have earned a 3.0 GPA in high school, have a family income $80,000 or less, and be new students living in Penobscot County that are enrolling for fall 2025 admission. Koyogan says enabling students to attend Husson without incurring debt is an investment in our future, their future, and the future of our local economy.
Well, Giving Tuesday is a day to promote generosity and encourage people to make a difference. Giving Tuesday has become one of the biggest fundraising days of the year for nonprofits in the U.S. Catherine Ravenscraft, Director of Development for the Bangor Humane Society, says fundraising is a never-ending job in nonprofit work.
We are always looking, especially in animal welfare, for donations of supplies for our animals and donations of money to keep all of this moving, to keep our medical team going, to keep our staff moving. Yeah, it takes a lot of hands and it takes a lot of money to make it all work.
Well, Giving Tuesday started out as a hashtag project at the 92nd Street Y in New York City. In 2022 and in 2023, Giving Tuesday raised an estimated $3.1 billion for charitable organizations nationwide. Ravenscraft says organizations are also happy to have people volunteer and donate their time.
Coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, Biden administration approved an additional shipment of weapons to Ukraine.
And in the midst of intense political conflict, South Korea martial law was enacted for just a short duration. We'll have those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the great strength and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
Oh no! Son of a nutcracker. This is what I get for eating all those cookies. Hey, Roto-Rooter, I got a big clog for you. I'm stuck in the chimney. Again. Yep, I'm the clog. Any chance you could fa-la-la over here?
For all your holiday plumbing needs, Roto-Rooter can save the day.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
When you need tires, no matter the size, Bangor Tire will service your ride and get you back on the road quick and safely. Master mechanics in the consumer division will repair your brakes, exhaust, front-end alignments, and much more. Truckers take exit 180 from I-95 for your new tires or flat repair with minimal wait time. Always free shuttle and delivery of your car in the greater Bangor area. Take Littlefield Avenue to 514 Colebrook Road, Herman, right beside Dysart. BangorTire.com.
We're more than just a tire store.
Santa Claus is coming to town, and he's making special stops here at ABC 7 and Fox 22's morning show before the big night. Starting in December, Santa will be here reading your children's emails and letters. Have your kids send their message to Santa by emailing santa@wvii.com or by sending it to our mailing address at 371 Target Industrial Circle in Bangor. And make sure to watch Good Morning Maine on ABC 7 and Fox 22 to see what Santa has to say.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
The Republican advantage in the House for the next Congress appears to be razor thin. California officials are still counting ballots 1 month after Election Day in one very close race. Fox's Chad Pergram is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
It is said that Congress is a lot like school, even down to taking attendance, a necessity, as Republicans will hold a paper-thin House majority next year.
Are you concerned about governing with this narrow majority? I mean, it might be 217, 250.
Yeah, we figured out how to do this over the last Congress, so we'll manage.
But there are things they can't manage.
Prepare for departure.
Whose plane is delayed, who's out sick, or who has a parent-teacher conference.
Attendance is going to be vitally important, making sure people are here, making sure the votes are counted on both sides.
Republicans were ecstatic that they held the House, but the GOP majority shrank. Republicans start with no more than 219 seats since former Representative Matt Gaetz stepped down. The majority dwindles to 217 once Republicans Elise Stefanik and Michael Waltz join the Trump administration, likely in late January, but not before they vote for Speaker on January 3rd. Still, just a couple of defectors could create headaches for Johnson retaining the Speaker's gavel.
And no worry about the Speaker vote at all here with the narrow majority?
The departures of Stefanik and Waltz means the House could be 217 to 215 for months. Tight numbers could make it hard to govern.
We pray for the health and vitality of all of our members.
President-elect Trump supports Johnson. Republicans believe the incoming president can impose party discipline.
They're firmly behind President Trump, and I would say it'd be very risky politically and otherwise to step out from that.
In the final uncalled House race, Democrat Adam Gray leads Republican incumbent John Duarte by a mere 143 votes. Duarte barely beat Gray 2 years ago. 2 California counties release a batch of ballots later tonight. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Meanwhile, nominees for President-elect Trump's incoming cabinet are on Capitol Hill this week, hoping to win support from senators before next month's confirmation hearings. Fox's Mike Emanuel has the story.
Pete Hegseth back on Capitol Hill meeting with senators. President-elect Trump's nominee to be defense secretary still facing scrutiny over past remarks objecting to women in combat roles.
How do you feel about the women in combat?
We have amazing women who serve in our military. Amazing women.
Do you think they should be in combat?
I think they're already in combat.
It comes as Hegseth faces accusations of sexual, financial, and personal misconduct during his time running 2 veterans advocacy groups. Despite the controversy, several senators say he has their full support. Senator Ted Cruz, who met with Hegseth on Monday, posting on X, quote, "He is laser focused on ending the wokeness that has overtaken the armed services." Several senators also meeting with Pam Bondi, Trump's Attorney General nominee.
I urged her to root out corruption in the Department of Justice and the FBI. I told her that it was a significant priority of mine.
Closed-door meetings also expected with Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent. According to Fox Business, he'll be meeting with newly chosen Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Majority Whip John Barrasso later this week. Everyone hoping to win support before facing Democrats at confirmation hearings.
If President-elect Trump puts forward qualified, capable leaders for the important pieces of our national security and our federal government, he'd get bipartisan support. What's happening right now feels more like a casting call for a reality TV show.
Confirmation hearings for all the nominees are expected to start with the new Congress in January. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
South Korea in the spotlight after its president declared martial law in the midst of a deep political strife, only to lift it after an intense pushback. Now there are calls that South Korean president to be impeached. Fox's Connor Hansen has more from New York.
South Koreans took to the streets to protest after President Yoon Suk-yeol suddenly declared martial law and clashed with soldiers while gathering outside the National Assembly.
Through this martial law, I will rebuild and protect the Free Republic of Korea, which is falling into the depths of national ruin.
President Yoon addressed the country, accusing the opposition party of paralyzing the government. He even accused some of siding with communist North Korea. The declaration was quickly denounced by both sides, including the leader of Yoon's own party. Hours later, Yoon lifted the decree after the National Assembly voted to end it.
We are watching these developments with grave concern. We're staying in close, appropriate touch with our ROK counterparts.
Yoon was elected by a narrow margin in 2022 and has struggled to move his agenda through the opposition-led parliament. The martial law declaration banned all political activities and allowed the president to take command of the news media. South Korea's military said people could be arrested without a warrant for violating it. White House advisors were keeping a close eye during the president's trip to Angola.
Mr. President, anything on South Korea, martial law?
I'm just getting briefed.
This is the first time martial law has been declared in South Korea since 1979, and the first time since the nation became a democracy. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
In the final weeks of his administration, President Biden is funneling more resources to Ukraine. Yesterday, the White House announced it's sending another round of weapons worth hundreds of millions of dollars. As Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, continuing aid is not guaranteed once Donald Trump takes office.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Brussels Tuesday to shore up international support for Ukraine before winter hits the battlefield and President-elect Donald Trump takes office.
You've got us till the 20th of January, every minute, every day. It only reinforces our determination to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to deal with what it's facing on the battlefield.
It's unclear what Trump's presidency will mean for Ukraine. He's promised to end the war, but also indicated he's not inclined to keep sinking billions of dollars into the conflict. That's why Biden's team is rushing aid to Ukraine before Trump takes office.
That $725 million, we authorized that months ago. And if the Biden administration hadn't been slow-walking that aid, they would have had it already.
The latest aid package includes anti-tank weapons, long-range rockets, and landmines.
We really want to be stronger so that this war will end this year, in the year 2025.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky believes joining NATO is the fastest way to end the war, a move the current administration supports. But Trump has said he wants Ukraine and Russia to negotiate a deal.
The question then for President Trump and his team is, how do you turn that into a permanent peace so that Putin doesn't just strike again? And that is where NATO membership comes in. It can deter Putin from launching further attacks.
This latest arms shipment is the largest since a $1 billion package was announced back in April. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Jody Hersey went to Dover Foxcroft to highlight a famous children's author visiting Maine.
And in sports, Hampton Academy boys basketball is back after a trip to the Class A state finals a year ago. We'll be right back.
Light it up!
TV's biggest game show is back, and it's even bigger.
Let's go!
The Floor, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
Did you know that 50% of the air you breathe in your home is air that comes from Hafford Basement Systems? All things basementy. A wet, damp basement is a real problem. It can damage your valuables, worsen asthma and allergies, and affect indoor air quality. We'll transform your basement into a dry, usable space and improve the health of your entire home. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basementy.
The hottest ticket in town just got a holiday makeover. That's right, we're unboxing unbeatable values for your home every Friday in November. We're talking beautiful bedroom sets, dining sets in multiple heights and shapes, best-selling mattresses, feature-packed power sofas, pop-up sleeper sofas for hundreds less than other national retailers, decor and more, all at wow-worthy prices. I think we sufficiently wowed him. So check back every Friday for a new unboxing, because every day is like Black Friday when you dare to compare at Bob's.
Gift giving for kids at any age can be a lot. That video game console, obsolete in 2 years. The Dream Castle, well, the box ended up being a bigger hit. Toys and games can be great gifts in the moment, but can also be forgotten quickly. A better gift? Well, there's no present like a bright future. Learn more about opening a NextGen 529 account. The good just adds up. To learn more about NextGen 529, its investment objectives, risks, and costs, read the program description at nextgenforme.com. Check if your home state has a 529 plan that offers tax or other benefits.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
A mother and her son, 8,000 miles apart, were offered an ideal solution to reunite an unspoken love.
So when he got there and he saw his house, he was really happy. I just kept visiting him, constantly, just so he reassured him that nothing's going to happen to Roman.
But when neglect and unspeakable abuse were dealt by the ones trusted to care for her son, Danielle's trust in the system was shattered. Wednesday on Fox 22 News at 10. Join us for our series, Corrosion and Care, in the search for solace.
President Biden takes a trip to Africa to help push back against the growing Chinese influence there. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from Washington.
The United States is all in on Africa.
With just over a month to go before he leaves office, Joe Biden made his first visit to Africa as president, hoping to win over regional allies and skeptics as he pitches billions of dollars worth of infrastructure projects. Biden became the first sitting president to visit Angola, telling his counterpart that the U.S. is moving ahead with a $3 billion investment in a railroad linking Zambia, Congo, and Angola, which would be a game changer in global trade and realign Africa with the West.
The United States is expanding our relationship all across Africa, from assistance to aid, to investment to trade.
The investments are part of a plan to counter the growing influence of China throughout the continent. Beijing has a big head start. They've been investing billions in everything from ports to highways. But the new U.S.-backed railroad could change all of that, giving Western countries greater access to rare materials only found in Africa.
It's like if we don't have access to the critical minerals for the green economy, will lag behind.
It's still not clear if President-elect Trump will move ahead with the project. He's been skeptical of foreign aid in the past, but containing China is one of his top priorities.
We hope very much that the incoming team will take a hard look at this and see for themselves the value in it.
The president also announced almost $1 billion worth of solar projects to help Africa generate clean energy. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
It has been more than 2 months since Hurricane Helene devastated parts of western North Carolina, and there are many people still without homes or basic services. Fox's Steve Harrigan is in Newland, North Carolina, with the latest.
My concern is to see her heartbreaking, and it's been very difficult.
With Christmas just weeks away, Pinky Anderson is having a tough time explaining things to her 14-year-old daughter. They're one of a dozen families now staying at the inn at Shady Lawn in Newland, North Carolina, after Hurricane Helene destroyed their homes and more than 100,000 others.
She asks me every day, Mama, are we going to be in our home for Thanksgiving? No, honey. Mama, are we going to be in our home for Christmas? I don't think so.
There's a sense among some we spoke with that they have been forgotten, with FEMA room payments ending for many next week.
I'm not too impressed with FEMA. They have put off my case. I was told by my inspector on October 24th that I would hear something within 10 days, and it's already December 2nd, and I haven't heard anything.
Helene killed more than 100 people in North Carolina and did more than $50 billion in damage. The scope of the loss here is hard to understand, even for those who've been looking at the destruction for weeks on end.
Struggling. Yeah, big time struggling.
The mayor of Newland, who also lost his home, says they are desperately trying to rebuild their community.
It's disappointing to ride through town and still see the baseball field is gone. All baseball fields are gone. The dog park's still gone.
You do get a sense here, talking to people, that they are tough. They don't like to complain, but after 2 months of waiting, you also get the sense that frustration is building. In Newland, North Carolina, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
Certainly something to keep in mind as we move into the holidays when you're considering maybe where to donate or, some ways to give back to your community and beyond. Certainly remembering the storm victims.
Keeping an eye out for any of those giving trees, if there's any available for them out there, absolutely.
All right. Well, our full 5-day is coming up. Stay with us.
We're staying dry tonight, but tomorrow night we have a clipper system on the way that's going to bring both chances of both rain and snow for tomorrow. Mostly snow is what we're going to see. And when will that all arrive? I'll have the answers coming right up.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Ye Old General, located in Carmel, has everything you could ever need. Whether it be kerosene, regular or ethanol-free gasoline, wood pellets, a fresh-cooked pizza, or fried food, they've got you covered. Looking to get a stiff drink after work? Ye Old General is an agency liquor store with a great selection of alcohol. Ye Old General can help with your next home project, carrying carpentry supplies from hammers and nails to specialty nuts and bolts. They have what you need to get the job done. Stop by Ye Old General today. If you don't think they'll have it, they probably do.
Now's the time to get a great deal on the #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. Professional-grade mowers, durable sidekick utility vehicles, and versatile compact tractors. It's the equipment you need to take care of your land. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus save up to $300.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
Hi, Grandma. I'm in trouble and I really need some money.
Tommy, is that you? Of course I'll help. But first, what's the family code word?
Code word?
Over $9 billion is lost annually to fraud and phone scams, and they're on the rise. Safeguard your family by establishing a family code word, only known to family members, and verify it with the caller before taking any action. Sponsored by the Maine Bankers Association and the Maine Society of CPAs and this station.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Talented head chefs, right?
Big egos mean big blow-ups for Gordon.
Where is the passion?
Hell's Kitchen head chefs only. All new Thursdays on Fox.
Thank you so much. We can see for temperatures out there today, they've been pretty consistent the past few days. Right around 33 is what we're seeing here in town. Just a tick above freezing, but we saw freezing temperatures in Bar Harbor today. A little bit warmer though in Rockland and the whole southwestern portion of the state, right around those mid to upper 30s for today. A little bit cooler though in Millinocket, a little bit below freezing, 30 degrees, and well below freezing in our northern portion of the state. Clayton Lake right around 27, Presque Isle at 29, and Holton at 28 degrees. And we're going to be well below freezing for tonight. Another cold night out there. Temperatures right around 14 degrees here in town, 9 degrees in Millinocket, 11 in Clayton Lake, and a little bit warmer though by the coast. You're all right around 22 when you see Portland at 24. Generally, those temperatures by the coast always stay a little bit warmer. But for tomorrow, right around 30 degrees is what we'll see in the afternoon. We should bump up to right around 34 is what I'm expecting, because we're going to have mostly sunny skies for tomorrow afternoon. So make sure you step outside for a little bit, enjoy the sun while you can. We'll see still some cooler temperatures though up north, right around those mid to upper 20s near Clayton Lake and Presque Isle. But our average high this time of year is 39 degrees. We'll get close Thursday for a brief moment, but then we're quickly going to go below freezing again. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that cool air really pushes in temperatures right around the mid to upper 20s then. But we will be right back to around average next week on Monday with a high right around 39, and then just a tick below that on Tuesday with a high right around 38 degrees. Winds tonight into tomorrow morning are going to be very calm. We can see that here in Bucksport, Bar Harbor, Amherst, Bangor. We're all going to be right around 2 to 5 mile per hour gusts. So very, very calm conditions, but it will quickly change as we go into tomorrow night. We can see right around midnight tomorrow, Bar Harbor, 43 mile per hour gusts. We'll see 20 mile per hour gusts here in town. Bucksport around 26, and many other areas across the state right around 30 mile per hour wind gusts going into tomorrow night because we do have that clipper system on the way. We can see out there right now, though, we're doing pretty well. Got some clouds out there and a few snow flurries in the southwestern portion of the state from earlier on today. Those are now fizzling out, but we do have a winter storm on the way. We can see we got a winter storm watch in our northern counties. A little bit more to the west, we have that winter weather advisory. Nothing going on here in town, but we're still going to get our fair amount of action from this clipper system that's making its way through. So taking a look at that future cast, we're going to see tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have those mostly sunny skies, but then the clouds move in tomorrow evening, and then right around 8:30 is when we can see that first push of snow, and then right around 3:30 in the morning, temperatures are going to be warm enough to give us some rain, but then they'll quickly drop after that, leaving us with some snow tomorrow morning right around 9:30. We can see, though, we're only going to get it right around half an inch here in town due to the warm temperatures we're going to see in the middle of the night, but those heavier amounts in Millinocket and Greenville will definitely be falling right around 4 to 6 inches is what they can see, right around 1 to 3 inches down in the southwestern portion of the state. For tonight, though, we're staying dry, low right around 14 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. And for tomorrow, warming up to right around 34 with those mostly sunny skies. But as we see on the extended forecast, we're going to have to deal with some rain and snow into Thursday, and then temperatures drop into the weekend right around the upper 20s. Beth?
All right, so some chilly overnights heading our way for
yeah,
sure.
Want to bundle up this week.
Yeah, find those extra warm socks and put them on.
Yeah.
All right, well, there is still more to come, including sports. Stay with us.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed. Yeah. We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
A family-owned and operated business since 1953, Hammond Lumber Company recognizes the value of their team members and the importance of employee satisfaction. Hammond is honored to have been named one of the best places to work in Maine for the 4th consecutive year, and Hammond was once again selected as one of the best places to work in New Hampshire by Business New Hampshire magazine. Hammond is always looking for great people to join their team. To find your place on the Hammond team, click on the careers link at hammondlumber.com.
Your one-stop shop for everything jewelry is right here in Bangor. Whether you're looking to purchase a piece from our thousands of options or cook up an idea from any inspiration, we can do it all and more. Our staff of jewelers and custom design specialists are up to the task, whether it be a simple repair or creating custom keepsakes. For over 30 years, whether it's for fashion or memories, Quality Jewelers has had you covered and always will. Quality Jewelers, locally owned and operated, Penobscot Plaza, Bangor.
Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Diversified Ink Tattoo Studio in Bangor, located in the Penobscot Plaza, providing custom ink by licensed artists for more than 20 years.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to start with some big news out of Maine hockey. We can confirm that Maine's fifth-year captain Lyndon Breen will undergo surgery later this week to repair an undisclosed lower body injury. Breen suffered the injury Saturday, leaving the contest during Maine's 6-0 win over RPI, a game where he had a hat trick and an assist in the first period to get things rolling for the Black Bears. Breen has spent his whole career in Orono. He's been a captain these past 2 seasons. He has 5 goals this year, 4 in his last 2 appearances. The university says he will be out for an undisclosed amount of time. Wishing him well. He will undergo surgery on Friday. Basketball season is already in full swing with games kicking off on Thursday, and our Jack Webb went over to check in with the Hamden Academy Broncos boys squad. They are in search of a second straight trip to the state championship game.
So what are the team's goals for this year? I'm guessing win a state championship?
100%. Win a state championship, that's our goal.
The Hamden Academy Broncos are gearing up for the boys basketball season, looking to avenge last year's loss in the state championship game. But it's a new year, and there will be some roles to fill after the loss of 2 key seniors to graduation. However, that just means it's someone else's time to shine.
You know, we lost 2 really good scorers in Zach and JJ, but I think, you know, me and Liam definitely need to step up and take in those roles, and also having a good supporting cast and like our role players, you know, coming off the bench, getting a few buckets.
The Broncos are hoping last year's exposure to the bright lights and big stage will make for a smoother transition into their new roles.
I gained a ton of experience, and I know my teammates did too. Because, as you said, as a sophomore, sometimes you get really nervous. You're just an underclassman in there.
I feel like every time I step on the floor, I'm not as nervous as I used to be. And I would imagine that for a lot of other people too. And I think that's definitely what's going to be the best for us.
However, scoring is secondary for Hamden Academy because when you ask them what their strength is, they waste no time getting to the point.
Definitely defense. We've got a lot of great hustle players. We're gritty. We get after every loose ball, and that's one of the things we've been focusing on.
We got like really good defenders. Miles, he's a really good on-ball defender. We got Liam, obviously, who's really lengthy. You know, Andy too. He's always out there getting rebounds and blocks, and you know, I think we're a really good defensive team.
The Broncos know you don't just get handed an invitation back to the state championship game, so their focus is on the process.
We're just working every day. We stay connected to our principles every day. We're working on our defense. We're working on where we're supposed to be in position, how we rotate, how we focus on different matchups.
I think it's just taking one game at a time. You know, looking at we're not focused on that yet, but we're going to take it one game at a time. We got to win our games first.
From Hamden, Jack Webb, ABC7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thanks for that, Jack. The Broncos host Skowhegan on Friday. On to some baseball now. The Red Sox making a free agency signing Tuesday, but it's not the one we've all been anticipating. Boston and left-handed reliever Aroldis Chapman agreeing to a 1-year, $10.75 million contract. Last season, the 36-year-old flamethrower hurling over 61 innings, striking out 98 batters. His fastball's average speed was 98 miles per hour, topping out at 105. Chapman has been around the league. Boston is his 7th team. He spent 7 seasons with the Yankees and won a World Series with Chicago. And the 7-time All-Star has the highest strikeout rate in MLB history with 14.8 per 9 innings. Chapman also served a 30-game suspension in 2016 under MLB's domestic violence policy. Moving on to the football field now, the Patriots heading on the bye week, but not before holding their lone workout of the week on Tuesday. New England heads to their Week 14 bye with a 3-10 record, and just 4 games remain after the break, and they are 4 tough ones too. The Patriots playing the Cardinals, Bills, Chargers, and Bills again. New England has had some bright spots, and they've also had some struggles this season. The highlights being the offense since Drake May took over. It's clear they have the QB of the future, but it's been tough sledding in other areas. And right now, the veterans on the team are preaching just handling that adversity.
You see it from the guys that have been in this program for a long time that believe in the New England Patriots and have been a part of a lot of wins.
I wouldn't say it's not how I, expected it to go, but, adversity comes and, I deal with adversity pretty well, so.
New England heads to Arizona for their Week 15 matchup. We will finish over at the pit in Orono, where the University of Maine men's basketball squad taking on the University of Maine Augusta. We'll pick this one up in the middle of the first half. Black Bears looking for another win coming off of a big weekend. Tied up, Keelan Steele has it, and he's going to flush this one home for 2. He had 12 points on the night. Later on, it is Kellen Tynes, the reigning America East Player of the Week, looking to create some offense. He steps back into open space and splashes home a triple, adds on to what was a 29-4 Maine run to end the half. Beginning of the second now, it's the Moose here. Dante Sharp drives to the basket. He finishes a tough shot while drawing a foul. He had 10 points for Augusta, but Maine stays in control in this one. AJ Lopez will not be denied here, making an acrobatic finish. The Black Bears win 103-51. And that is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
In a small town like this, you got to take care of each other, and that's really what it comes down to.
Have a good evening.
Mike's & Sons is a business my father started. When Matt and I were buying this store, the credit unions found a way to do it for us.
They don't look at us as a number.
Alicia Netta, Mike's & Sons.
We want to be able to run our business the way we feel is best for our customers.
We're not in this to make money. We're just trying to help everybody be what they want to be for the future.
If something is even remotely possible, they find a way to get it done. That's why we stick with the credit unions.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the grace, strength, and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
Happy holidays from Collector's Choice Sports Cards in Brewer. We carry sports cards, TCG, and also buy, sell, and trade. Paloma's Gifts, located at 78 Harlow Street in Bangor. We have the perfect stocking stuffers for you this holiday season. Merry Christmas from Triple S Tack Shop, home of all your new and used equestrian supplies.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Preheat your ovens and your brains.
All new baking mysteries are cooking up Thursdays. Don't miss an all-new Crime Scene Kitchen Thursdays on Fox.
A Stranger Things Season 5 update and a new recipient of the Carol Burnett Award has been announced. Fox's Anna Eliopoulos has the latest in the Hollywood Nation.
This is day one
on Stranger Things 5.
Hawk teases the final Stranger Things season, Khalid reunites with Normani, and Danson gets a new trophy in the Hollywood Nation. Ted Danson will receive a special honor at the Golden Globe Awards next month. The three-time Golden Globe winner and TV legend is the fifth recipient of the Carol Burnett Award for his contributions to television on or off screen. Danson, along with the 2025 Cecil B. DeMille Award winner Viola Davis, will be honored during a Beverly Hills Gala dinner January 3rd. Both will also be recognized during the 82nd Annual Golden Globes, airing January 5th. Singer Khalid reteams with former Fifth Harmony member Normani for another duet. The duo collaborated on the new single, Personal, which will be available Friday. Khalid teased the release with an on-set Instagram video. They previously released their hit track, Love Lies, back in 2018.
It might not work out for us this time.
Maya Hawke shared an update on the fifth and final season of Stranger Things. During an appearance on the Pod Crushed podcast, Hawk teased a supersized season, saying, quote, "We're making basically 8 movies. The episodes are very long." She also revealed they're still filming, which will continue through the rest of the month. Netflix announced last month the show will return sometime next year.
Season 4 was big. Season 5 definitely is bigger.
Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Well, this holiday season, nearly half of shoppers can expect to have at least one delivery stolen by porch pirates. A company called Porch Pals is selling porch pirate insurance, though. For $120 a year, it will cover the cost of your stolen packages and will cover up to $2,000 of deliveries or up to 3 claims a year. To try and beat the thieves, Americans are already shelling out for high-tech gadgets like doorbell cameras, $400 lock boxes, or self-service locker rentals. Victims of package theft can often get the retailer to send a replacement item, but it's not guaranteed, and package theft isn't covered under standard credit card benefits. Porch Pals, which doesn't charge a deductible, started in California but is now available across the country.
Jan Brett is an award-winning children's author and illustrator who's spending 3 weeks on the road visiting readers all over the U.S. Our Jody Hersey met up with her in Dover Foxcroft, where a long line of fans anxiously awaited her arrival.
At 75 years young, Jan Brett is a celebrity unlike any other. This author and illustrator has shaped the childhood of so many readers in Maine and throughout the country.
My kids grew up with Jan Brett books. She's our favorite author and illustrator.
Folks of all ages lined up to meet Brett at the Center Theater for Performing Arts in Dover Foxcroft, just one of many stops in her 3-week-long book tour.
My grandma actually got me a copy signed by her of The Mitten when I was very young, and so when I heard that she was coming all the way out here, I just felt like I should take advantage of it.
Brett is well known for her detailed animal illustrations in books like The Hat, The Mitten, and her newest children's book, Alice in the Winter Wonderland. She even gave a brief drawing demonstration to those in attendance.
And then rabbits don't have eyebrows.
Brett says the goal of her book tour is to encourage everyone to pick up a pencil.
I really want to encourage kids to draw because so many people just use the computer now.
Brett says each person, herself included, have their own drawing style.
It's like your fingerprint. Nobody has a fingerprint like you, and the same when you draw a picture. Because you have your own style, you can't help it. That's just you.
Readers say meeting this famous illustrator is a gift they'll never forget.
The detail and the textures and how she could do it so easily
impressed you.
It did.
In Dover Foxcroft, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Bangor Historical Society is asking for the public's help with its Legacy Tree project. This year, for the holidays, the Historical Society is looking to collect photos and stories of people who contributed to Bangor's history. People like loggers, merchants, business owners, and nurses who had an impact on the city and its citizens. Staff at the Historical Society would like to honor these individuals by placing their pictures on the nonprofit's Legacy Tree, which is on display just inside the front doors of the Hill House in Bangor.
If you volunteer at an organization, you're contributing to the community. If you've served the community through being in the military, you've made your mark on the community. So we're looking for stories of everyday people who have contributed to make Bangor area what it is today.
Those who would like to contribute to the Legacy Tree project may do so from December 6th through the 21st. Contributors are asked to fill out a form and provide a digital copy of a photo. If a digital copy is not available, arrangements can be made with Historical Society staff to scan a photo. For more information, you can log on to BangorHistoricalSociety.org. Alrighty.
Wow. I think that does it for tonight.
That is going to do it for us tonight. From everybody here at Fox 22, take care and good night.
We'll see you later.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station ABC7 right now for ABC7 News at 11.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier.
Kimmel's got Jude Law, Kyle Mooney, and music from Denzel Curry tonight.
Let's play. Whoever left this for us clearly wants us to figure it out. Okay, give me a minute.
She means that literally, doesn't she?
Yes.
You continue to amaze me. We're lucky to have you on the team.
Our killer's name is Olivier Dubois, and he works at Hollywood Auto.
Did you just Google who's the killer on your phone, Morgan?
No, I did not do that, Adam.
We have come a long way, partner.
This case, it's different than the rest.
The fun has just begun.
This person we're trying to catch is kind of brilliant.
So are you.
I need to talk to you about your dad. You don't believe he left us, and neither do I.
I've kept my commitment to digging deeper into Roman, but we need an assist.
I'll see what I can do.
You found him, didn't you?
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
As the 100